Welcome to Matters Financial and Geopolitical from the Frontier. Thank you for stopping by always. I do appreciate it. And I know I can sort of go off base and I apologize for that. But it's, I suppose, my prerogative. Let's move on to macro thoughts. The World Bank is downgrading its 2016 global growth forecast to 2.4% from 2.9% that they were projecting in January. That's a pretty substantial downgrade, I've got to say. I'm going to jump from there to home thoughts. Look at this photograph from Last Chance for Animals. There are two new baby mountain gorillas to protect. This is in the Virunga National Park. They look so human, don't they? Then I like this photograph from Laurent Baer, Zebras Race in the Savannah. You get a sense of movement, don't you? Which I didn't have, but I took this photograph of the zebra crossing the Ambassador, which I quite like. Staying with Muhammed Ali, Gordon Parks' shot of Ali after a training session in Miami in 1966 is breathtaking. So much detail, so much contrast, and for once it's a portrait of the champion without any hint of braggadocio. Friendship is the hardest thing in the world to explain. It's not something you learn in school, but if you haven't learnt the meaning of friendship, you really haven't learnt anything. And then I like this photograph as well. Ali and George Foreman taken before Ali's second fight with Jerry Quarry. The expressions, the simmering contempt, the outfits, the saturated colours. What's not to love about this image of Ali and George Foreman taken before Ali's second fight with Jerry Quarry? Ali said champions aren't made in gyms, champions are made from something. They have deep inside them a desire, a dream, a vision. They have to have the skill and the will, but the will must be stronger than the skill. Political reflections, Hillary Clinton, she's gone over the top here, thanking everybody on Twitter, like the photograph. She also tweeted, "Wish Mum could have been here to see tonight." That took me back to my mother, how I wish she was here too. And then, for the first time in our history, a woman will be a major party's nominee for President of the United States. That's a big thing as well, and I'm all for girl power. And I lived in an all-girl household until I got my three puppies. Hillary Clinton, Donald Trump is temperamentally unfit to be president and commander-in-chief. She's beginning to punch him now, and he's not able to punch back. Donald Trump, this photograph arrives for a campaign rally in California. Trevor Noah, the South African comedian, has compared Trump to an African president. Described Donald Trump as the perfect African president. There was, he said, the self-regard of Idi Amin, the repressiveness of Robert Mugabe, the eccentricity of Muammar Gaddafi. Then the Borowitz report, which is very sarcastic in what New Yorker says, quoting Trump. Obviously not. Mexicans swarming across border, enrolling in law school and becoming biased judges. Unless the United States builds a wall, Mexicans will swarm across the border, enroll in law school en masse, and eventually become biased judges. Donald J. Trump warned supporters on Monday. At a rally in San Jose, the presumptive Republican nominee said that making America great again meant preventing the nation from becoming overrun by Mexican judges. "We don't win anymore," he told the crowd. "We don't win at judges." While Trump offered no specific facts to support his latest allegations, he said that he had heard about the threat of incoming Mexican judges firsthand from Border Patrol agents. They see hundreds of these Mexicans and they're coming across the border. with LSAT prep books. He said it's a disgrace. In a line that drew a rousing ovation from supporters, Trump blasted Mexican leaders for their role in the crisis, claiming they're sending us their worst people, lawyers. President Assad said Syria will win the war and Aleppo will be the graveyard of Erdogan's dreams. Assad blamed much of the fighting, particularly in the north, on Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan, who he declared a fascist in the speech before Parliament, a declaration that sparked thunderous applause. Assad vowed that Aleppo would be the graveyard where the hopes and dreams of the butcher Erdogan will be buried. Let me put up a photograph of Aleppo, taken not too long ago. International Markets super essay in Bloomberg about the alchemist who turned toxic assets into gold at Citi. The memo landed on the Sunday in November. It was 2007, and securities backed by subprime mortgages were roiling markets and imperiling banks. Merrill Lynch CEO Stan O'Neill had just resigned under pressure, and Citi CEO Chuck Prince was rumoured to be on his way out. So the November 4 memo to employees in Citigroup's markets division seems bold in hindsight. While other banks were looking to unload the toxic securities, and Citigroup was taking an $11 billion write-down on its holdings, then trading chief Jamie Forese and fixed income head Paco Ybarra had other plans. They announced they'd turn the bank's souring mortgage debt over to a new team and chart a course for the future. It was, they said, a great opportunity. The man they would soon ask to oversee that strategy was Mark Tesasas, a refugee from Ukraine with intense blue eyes and a cool demeanor. Lots of issues about whether they should have been so aggressive when they were getting money from one side from the government on a bailout. But I tend to agree with that. You've got to take your opportunities where they come, and they certainly took those. Germany's 10-year yield drops to a record amid risks to global growth. Have a look at this. Germany yield curve as the 10-year Bund yield falls to a record low. Have a look at that. A lot of it is negative. The Dow cracked 18,000 yesterday. The bulls are back. Let's look at the currency markets. Euro 113.75, dollar index 93.72, Japanese yen 107.06, the pound 145.44, the Aussie 0.7443, India rupee 66.745, South Korean won 1156.66, the Real 343.96, Egyptian pound 888.26, and the South African rand 14.8912. So we've seen a good recovery in the higher beta currencies post that very soft payrolls number. Suspected fat finger sends pound surging in twitchy markets, as the Wall Street Journal. Have a look at the 5-day chart for sterling. Big surge above 146, but we're back now below 146. Goldman puts July rate boost odds at twice what the bond market sees. The bond market is essentially pricing it out. Have a look at the chart there. Dollar index 93.70. The key level for the dollar index is 93. Let's see how we behave if we get any closer to that. Gold popping over 1250, 1251, 1252 now. I'll put up a 6-month chart. Good recovery seen there. US oil has settled above $50 for the first time since July 2015 on US draw forecasts. And Nigeria worry. It's been a stupendous rally. Let's see if we can hold. See how long we can stay above $50 and $51 for Brent. China foreign reserves fell to $3.19 trillion in May, the lowest level in 4 years. Most of the decline is because of the strength of the US dollar. Of then and now, BRIC, Brazil, brought down by the little BRIC, bureaucracy, regulation, interventionism and corruption. That's Curtis Chin's opinion. Morgan Stanley sees babies and billionaires as the key to emerging markets. Have more babies, control borrowing, rear self-made billionaires, keep your currency cheap. That's the advice of Ruchir Sharma. Head of Emerging Markets, Morgan Stanley Investment Management. Let's move on to Africa. The World Bank is downgrading its 2016 global growth forecast to 2.4% from the 2.9% projected in January. Sub-Saharan Africa growth in Sub-Saharan Africa is forecast to slow again in 2016 to 2.5%, down from an estimated 3% in 2015. Still with that major document, look at this. This is interesting. Sub-Saharan Africa GDP, South Africa, 1.3% in 2015, 0.6% 2016, 1.1% in 2017. Nigeria, 2.7% last year, 0.8%, but remember they posted a negative first quarter already, and 3.5% the following year. Angola, 2.8% last year, 0.9% this year, 3.1% the following year. Interesting analysis. Regional growth slowed noticeably to 3% in 2015, down from 4.5% in 2014, and 0.3 percentage points lower than January estimates. Slowdown was most severe in oil exporters, Angola and Nigeria. Decline in metal prices led to a substantial fall in revenues and exports in non-energy mineral exporting countries. Other adverse developments included droughts, South Africa and Zambia, electricity shortages, Nigeria, South Africa, Zambia, the Ebola crisis, Guinea, Liberia, Sierra Leone, and conflict, Burundi, South Sudan. Growth remained robust in other oil importing countries, supported by ongoing infrastructure investments. Private consumption increased agricultural production. Regional growth is expected to slow further to 2.5% in 2016 amid depressed commodity prices. Then they're looking for a bounce to 4.1% in 2017-2018. Domestic downside risks include delays in implementing the necessary adjustment to deteriorating terms of trade or in the realization of reforms, worsening drought conditions. Political and security-related risks remain high in several countries. On the external side, a further decline in commodity prices, weaker than expected growth in advanced economies, and tighter global financing conditions could intensify pressures on fiscal and current account positions and affect foreign direct investment aid and other external flows. February the 8th this year, I wrote Kenya and East Africa on the up as the rest of Sub-Saharan Africa slumps. And I was talking about this region. Kenya GDP expected to be 6%, Tanzania 7%, Uganda 5%, Ethiopia. Now they've downgraded that quite substantially in the IMF, and that's to do with the drought, but still growing very, very strongly. DR Congo, well, that was expected to be around 9%, but it's coming down dramatically, and if this standoff continues, it'll be down even more. But I was saying then, I thought Nigeria, which is the biggest economy in Sub-Saharan Africa, will surely contract in 2016. I was talking about the Naira policy in particular. So South Africa, I expect to contract as well. And this is the spillover from Zupta economics. And I said the third biggest economy in Sub-Saharan Africa is Angola. And I said here we are in uncharted and possibly revolutionary territory, and I stand by that. Congo president will seek a third term. Kabila has signaled that he may cling to power by changing the constitution to let him take a third term in office. He is required to step down by law when his second term expires in November, but there is no electoral roll, there is no funding for a ballot, and the government is yet to show any signs that it wants to hold elections. On the 6th of June, when I was writing about the street and about what's happening here in Kenya, I said President Kabila, however, outwitted Moise Katumbi by removing him from the street and the Congo entirely. I was describing how I was in Doha, I was flicking the channels, came across a report from the Congo, where opposition presidential hopeful Moise Katumbi had been leading the street against a third term for Kabila. Birthday boy President Kabila is constitutionally barred from running for a third term. Katumbi has set out his stall now and is a formidable adversary. In fact, the numbers were building. Katumbi must have been thinking this might just turn into a tsunami. President Kabila, however, outwitted Katumbi by removing him from the street and the Congo entirely. Might well prove a cleverly administered technical knockout. Let me put up a photograph of the street in the DRC on May 27th and remind you of what I said on the 6th of June, which is the street is a tinderbox, and it has become a major area of political contestation across the continent. Angola will investigate reports of a $50 billion shortfall in the accounts of the state-run oil company. It's quite convenient that you put your daughter to look after your interests. I must discuss this with my daughters. South Africa business confidence fell to the lowest since the end of white minority rule. This is just extraordinary. Worst index level since June 1993. South African all share is up 7.13% this year. Dollar versus rand, I think it's a sell again. The rand here below 15. Egyptian EGX 30 up 10.15% year to date. Nigerian officials say they're still working out the new FX policy. When asked how long before a more flexible FX regime was unveiled, investors were told it would probably be days or weeks, said Kevin Daly. Nigerian authorities said they're having discussions, including with local banks. I tweeted, they've had more than a year. FX paralysis or a hybrid tiered system is essentially Nicolas Maduro economics. President Buhari left on June the 6th for London on a 10-day vacation. The Nigerian all-share is down 4.07% this year. The Ghana Stock Exchange Composite Index down 12.39% so far this year. Renamo gunmen attack a train in central Mozambique. This is the first time since Renamo stepped up hostilities this year that a train has come under attack. The state news agency reported, adding that previous ambushes have been against traffic on the main roads. Uganda's Yoweri Museveni names his new cabinet and has given his wife a key ministry. Today, here in Kenya, Treasury Secretary Henry Rotich is to present the 2016-2017 budget estimates. Centum Investment reported their full-year profit after tax increased 25.247%. Investment in other income up 104.336%. Profit before tax up 23.3%. Profit after tax up 25.247%. Operating and administrative costs were up 359%. I wonder what happened there. Earnings per share up 12.44%. Closing cash and cash equivalents 10.197 billion shillings. Dividend, they're paying a dividend of a shilling, and that's after they have not paid a dividend since 2009. A book value, net asset value 59 shillings a share. It's closed at 41. It's trading much stronger this morning at 44. Net debt 6.559 billion shillings is what they're saying. Gearing 16.7% versus 12.2%. Of course, they're the developers of the Two Rivers Mall, where they've brought in Old Mutual for 6.4 billion shillings, ICDC for 0.5 billion, AVIC for 6.5 billion. Probably covered everything and some. In 2015, they realized 5.2 billion shillings from the sale of their stake in UAP. This year, they got $1 billion from the sale of their stake in AON. And therefore, it's quite interesting. Well, the gains actually, total gains they booked this year were 5.4, because it was going to be difficult to lap those one-off gains that they previously saw, but they managed to do that. Have a look at the infographic they tweeted out about their objectives under the Centum 3.0 plan. Strong earnings, I said, some well-timed unloads. Incredible outperformance when compared to the benchmark equity indices. The dividend of a shilling will be well received. Showing the depth of the fall, Kenya tourist arrivals fell from 1.8 million in 2011 to 1.18 million last year, although near term, the last 4 months, we've seen a good rally. I said over the weekend that street protests will hurt 6% growth forecast. I think I was stating the obvious. in Jeffrey Gettleman's article in the New York Times, he's saying the opposition leaders are aware of this. Part of their leverage is the ability to slow down the economy, and that's a fact. A day after deadly protests rocked several areas of Kenya, government security officials issued a decree on Tuesday banning all unlawful demonstrations. Nakaseri, the interior minister, said protesters armed with stones, machetes, and other crude weapons had caused heightened political tension, disruption of peace, and loss of livelihoods affecting thousands of ordinary Kenyans. As a result, Mr. Nakaseri warned from today the government prohibits all unlawful demonstrations in the country. The protests have scared away business and tourists. I estimated that the country loses the equivalent of $5 million each day the protesters take to the streets because of interruptions to commerce, closing of businesses, and destruction of property. Kenya shilling was lost at 101.09. The Nairobi All Shares minus 0.73% so far this year. The NSE 20 is down 5.93% so far this year. The Imperial Bank chiefs turned the heat on the central bank, claiming that senior Central Bank of Kenya officials who were complicit in fraudulent transactions that led to the collapse of the financial institution in 2015 are now an obstacle in the restructuring and revival. It is plainly obvious that such complicit officers cannot be entrusted with the investigations which, if properly conducted, would unearth and expose their fraudulent dealings in cahoots with former Group Managing Director Jan Muhammed and senior employees of the bank, said Al-Nashir Poppet. Central bank officials were certainly complicit, that's obvious, but that excuse does not, it doesn't stack up. And, I wrote a piece about Chase Bank, and I said it's a story of the three wise monkeys, Mizaru, Kikazaru, and Iwazaru. And I think the same thing applies to the argument that the Poppets and their team are putting forward. Tanzania's Bank M to cross-list on Dar Nairobi stock markets, first Tanzanian lender to enter the Kenyan market, after 73% of its shareholders under the M Holdings Group agreed to buy a 51% stake in Oriental Commercial Bank. Thank you kindly for stopping by. I'm always grateful.